Welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with RokoM Michele. And this week is the fourth one on the power of the human experience and those four elements. And hopefully this week we actually know what those are. So the power of getting uncomfortable, the power of, is it finding
proximity?
Hope? Yeah, power of finding hope.
Bringing hope.
Yeah, power of proximity, and then the power of changing the narrative, which is the first one we did in the series. So anyway, the power of the human experience and Bryan Stevenson's work just really, I connected with it. And so I've appreciated this time. So this one's on the power of hope. And we're going to kick off with a quote. This is not Bryan Stevenson, but it's Einstein. And so I was sharing with Roko, when I was growing up, I always viewed Einstein through this lens of scientist, right? With the crazy hair and all that stuff. And I have to say, since we started the podcast and I paid more attention, the quotes that we get from Einstein, I'm like, who are you? It's like
philosopher, scientist.
Yes. And I'm just super impressed with the stuff that comes out in the quotes that I resonate with. So Einstein, this is his: learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is let me say this last part. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Okay. So we're going to go back in the power of hope. And I think the power of hope for me, when I hear this and I think about leadership roles and everything else, my brain at one point goes to COVID, because I remember saying that to leaders, their role was, because they wanted to be transparent about what's going on. Because remember back, things changed every day, sometimes several times a day, of what the direction we're going, things that were happening with the team. How do we disseminate information? And they wanted to be transparent about what's going on. I said, but here's the thing, we can do that. But our role as a leader is we also have to give them hope. Right. And so part of that, I think, in the question with Einstein's is question what you believe to be true, right? Figure out where's that light at the end of the tunnel, because that's the step that keeps you going forward.
Right.
That's all I have. I'm not very passionate about that, but that's all I have about that.
Yeah. And for me, again, the future is unknown and we can't predict it. But what we can do is create a vision of what it might be. And I think that is the hope piece, bringing the hope piece from a leadership perspective. When you can't see through the forest, when you can't see past the fog, what is on the other side, and how are we going to get there? And that to me is bringing the hope. If we just stayed in the unknown, the uncertainty, the mess, then you can get really deflated and unmotivated and just swirl out of control, and then chaos takes over. So part of bringing hope is bringing that stability back and reassurance that there is something worth working towards, worth fighting for, and it's going to be better than what we're in today. And that to me is the hope.
I'm going to connect a couple things, because you and I had talked offline about another speaker you were recently around that he wrote a book. And I have to think, because he had a different take on the staffing issues that we have and all the stuff going on around, the birth rates have gone down. And so we literally don't have enough people in the population pool to draw from, right, that we used to. And so when I think about that, Roko, and then I think about our topic this week on the power of hope, I think it is that part of leaders to say, you know what, we're in this crunch right now. And I'm going to pull in Einstein's quote of the questioning stuff. What can we do differently? Right. So our current processes are designed the way they are to deliver our current results, right? Which the current results could be that we have a mismatch between the amount of work that has to be done and the people that were skilled enough to do that job, right? It doesn't mean that the work has to be done in the way it's currently done. Are there opportunities to improve it to where, guess what, we can be successful?
Or reinvent it, right? Sometimes improvement isn't the answer. Sometimes just reinventing it is the answer. And that's the innovation piece of it, right?
The disruption. Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that's it. Instead of going, we've got to hire more people, questioning that and say, yeah, let's get someone in position to try to figure it out. But I think the other part of it is, how else could we do it? What else could it be? Right. So that we can start seeing possibilities where we see just barriers and walls and all that. I mean, that's where I connect those two.
Yeah.
Because I think the possibilities are endless of how we can do it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I go back to my days at Procter & Gamble and in logistics, and we had, you know, grocery chains that would order less than a full truckload. And initially, we would just, you know, hire carrier companies to come in and manage that less than truckload price. And it was extremely expensive. And when the fuel crisis started happening, we had to think differently. Mm-hmm. So we actually made changes to how we shipped. We took control over managing less than full truckloads, and we created full truckloads, as opposed to having the carrier do it for us and being in control of the pricing. We did it, and we're more in control of the pricing. So it's thinking differently. We had to create you know, warehouses that had all the products from our soap to beverages to paper, all the different in one warehouse that would allow us to fill a truckload for that customer, as opposed to having them order less than truckloads from each of the divisions. But it was thinking differently. It was out of the box thinking, so that you could create a better future.
You just frickin' propelled me when you were talking that to Amazon, right? I mean, if you go back 10 years ago, okay, and said there's going to be a company that you're going to get products to your door same day, all these products, or with the next day or a couple days, right? And oh, by the way, the price isn't that crazy, and you know, shipping, and I would have gone, no. Of course, okay, I actually didn't believe when dial-up was around that the internet was actually going to take hold. Okay, so I'm just here to say, because try shopping with dial-up.
Yeah.
Like, who has patience for this? Who on earth thinks this is a good idea?
Yeah.
Voice over IP was less than ideal in dial-up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I look at Amazon and you know, what people are up against. You talk about thinking differently and hope for something else. There were a lot of bumps that they ran into, right? And I remember they were contracting out carriers to do different things similar to what you're talking Procter & Gamble. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we have a fleet of our own vehicles. People can buy them, paint that, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But that's from somebody having a hope and an idea of something different than what it is today.
Yeah. And look at how it's shaped other industries, right? So grocery stores are now delivering, and they're successful at it. I can remember when Safeway
was the only one.
Was the only one, and they were horrible at it.
Yeah.
Horrible. Yeah. And now, you know, almost every grocery chain across the United States has home delivery, and they're pretty decent about it. You get it within, you know, an hour of ordering. So, I mean, they're getting, so it's just, it completely shaped and just shifted how we think about shopping.
Yeah.
And part of it was because of COVID, right? That shift for consumers to go from, no, I like going and picking out my thing in the brick and mortar store, to I now can't because everything is closed because of COVID. And now I have to learn how to order online and get it shipped to my door. And now it's like, you can't live without it. I mean,
and you trust that someone's going to pick out the right stuff, right?
Right.
Or, you know,
it's created this whole new industry for workforce, right? And you still have brick and mortars, but in a total smaller, you know, than we did before.
Well, so. and I'll take it from retail and pull it back into other places that provide customer service. Healthcare is one of them, right? Because the conversation is, though, here's what happens in healthcare now. People are having an experience with Amazon. So people have an experience with Amazon. They now have an expectation that they're going to have similar experiences and other touch points in their life, right? And so I'm going to go back to the hope piece for understaffing. How can we do things differently to give them a similar experience? I think video visits is one of them, but I think there's so many other ways that we can change or think differently or question how we do stuff, that there's a hope to dig out of, the staffing stuff that people are going through. But it's fun and challenging when new ideas work, right? Where you can experiment with stuff. Right. So I have go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have one other quote, and this will take us a slightly different twist out of the grocery delivery stuff, right? But back to hope, the power of hope with regard to leadership, right? So it's one other. Few things in the world are more powerful than a positive push, a smile, a world of optimism and hope. You can do it when things are tough. And so that, granted, two different things about questioning, but that for me is when you think about leadership, right? And there's not a title when I talk about leadership. I think that's the other opportunity that we have, is to encourage people. The power of hope when they may not feel it themselves, but those words of encouragement and hope that to keep going, you've almost got it, you can do it, I know you can. It's powerful. I mean, I've had that from mentors. I remember, and I was telling somebody the other day, the first time I got up in front of the room with Margie when she was teaching us with A3 thinking, petrified, okay? And I'm like, and all I've done is negotiate down to the smallest section of time that I could possibly find to get in front of the room. But having her there, knowing that and saying, you can do this.
Yeah.
Basically, you're ready.
Yeah. Somebody believing in you.
Yes. Yes. So that's the last quote I have on hope.
I love that. Yeah. And again, if you're thinking about how do I bring motivation, how do I help others to see, again, starting with the person, helping them to see and building confidence in there through, I believe in you, you can do it, and here's why, is a great place to start.
And I'm here, I'm your safety net.
Yeah.
If for some reason you get a little wobbly, I mean, because I would do that. You were mine when we were in the room together, to where I would be up there, after Margie had gone, the two of us, and I knew that if I forgot something, you were there.
I'm your wingman.
Yeah, that you could step in and vice versa. So I think that's the hope of, things will get better. I'll get better. I'll improve. Whatever we have is this moment in time. And the constant stuff is the fact that it's going to change, and the hope part is it's going to change for the better. Yeah. So anyway, I've appreciated this unpacking that we've done on these 4 topics associated with the power of the human experience. So the power of hope this week. So what's one thing, 2 things that you want people to walk away with around this topic?
I think there's 2 things. I think it's the never stop questioning. So keep that mindset of, how do I question today so that I can help bring forth a vision or create a vision for someone around tomorrow will be better, and here's what it might look like. And then the second part is about that building confidence in someone through your belief, sharing your belief that they can do it. I love that.
Yeah. So here's what came to my head when you were talking, right? Because I'm going to go back. I did a workshop the other day around change management, and the leaders role in change management. ProSci has that with Clark. And one of them is because the leader, one of the people in the class said something around, basically I have to be a cheerleader, right? That kind of thing. And so here's what I'll say around hope, which came to mind. We need to be authentic. We need to be sincere and authentic, right? This isn't just this false sense of you've got this.
Right.
We need to wrap our own brains around and beliefs around that what we're saying, we believe to be true, because otherwise it will land less than ideal. So that's what came to mind. Yes, do all that stuff, but do the work on the front end of it as a leader to wrap your own brain around it. So that it is authentic, it is sincere. And it's more than just this little, you've got this. Well, it's like, do you actually believe they have this? Yeah. Because if you were asked, why do you believe that? Could you actually articulate it? So that's what I would say is yes. And do the work to get yourself ready to where what you're saying is real and authentic. Yeah. Thank you for this. I mean, they're worthy topics. And so I appreciate you bringing them.
Well, thank you to Bryan Stevenson for putting it in the framework.
Yes. And so if I could find him on LinkedIn, I would tag him on this, but I can't find him on LinkedIn. So Roko, if you can, let me know. So thank you again. This has been Roko Michele with the Power of Hope, a Leadership Soundbites. And so please like, share, subscribe, and give us topics. We appreciate them. And until next time, thank you.